If we have a new bandsaw or an old bandsaw, there's a series of steps we need to go through just to check over to make sure it's doing as we want it to. And we're going to have a looking at those in quite a bit of detail. One of the first things I'll do is put a blade on there. We're going to have to adjust the tension. We're going to have to possibly adjust the tracking. We may see if the wheels are in balance. We will need to move the guides and put them into position. We'll check the bed for square to the blade. We will see the kind of fence mechanism we have, if we have one at all, and also how to tilt the table over 45 degrees. But one of the first things to do is to get the blade on there and see what we have. Most new bandsaws are supplied with a new blade. Most new bandsaw blades that are supplied are not very good quality. The one I had with this actually was very good, but often it's a freebie you're given and they don't spend a lot of money on them. I think the number one issue people have when they first have a bandsaw, they don't think it's working very well. It's probably because actually the blade is pretty poor. So I would speak to a good blade manufacturer and buy yourself a decent blade to make sure that you're not moving and adjusting things that are probably factory set and good. To put the blade on, I need to make sure that the guides are basically set out of the way and are wide. And the bottom guides as well, out of the way so the blade's not going to get caught up on them. So quite a long blade, this one. The longer the blade, the more tricky they can be to put onto the machine. I tend to get it on the top wheel first. Put him through the slot here, make sure he's not catching up on the guides. Same through here, make sure he's not catching up on the guides. Pop him onto the bottom wheel. What we want to try and do if we can is get the blade so it's fairly central on the wheel. But again, read the instructions that come with your bandsaw. With this bandsaw, it says blades up to 5/8 of an inch or 16 millimeters should be placed pretty central on the wheel. Blades wider than that, you can have the teeth further forward. On the little kitty bandsaw instructions, it says all the bandsaw blades should be with the teeth to the front edge of the wheel. My general preference is always trying to actually get the blade central on the wheels, but I'm not talking millimetre perfect, it's somewhere near centre, and that would be my preference for most of the time. Now I've got the blade safely on there, I'm going to take my gloves off because I've got some more detail work now to do with this blade. So now I can kind of feel a bit more for where the blade is on the wheel. There's also a window through the side of the bandsaw on this one for you to have a look. What we now need to do is put some tension on the blade. This machine has a tension gauge, but not all bandsaws do. I'm going to set this one up to the tension gauge and show you in detail later 3 or 4 other ways of checking if the tension is correct for your particular bandsaw. So I'm going to wind this wheel. I'm looking at the pointer. Basically, I've got a 3/4 inch wide bandsaw blade. I'm going to put a little bit of tension on there at first. And what I'm going to do now is just carefully freewheel the top wheel. And what it'll do, you might find the blade kind of moves a little bit. It tries to find its own home within the top wheel. So you might find hear some funny squeaking noises going on. It's just finding where it wants to be. Once it's fairly comfortable, I will then put some more tension on the blade. Let me just spin him a little bit. Make sure your finger doesn't go through too far and you end up getting caught in something. So carefully put the tip of your finger on the edge of the wheel. Actually, that one hasn't made any particularly funny noises, so I must have had it fairly central on both wheels. Let me just put a bit more tension on, and you might hear the bandsaw almost creak. You know, a lot of tension I'm putting on it now. And hear it going. What we look at next is other ways of testing the tension on the bandsaws.